Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today we are tackling a topic that is absolutely at the forefront of everyone's minds right now. We're talking daily financial pressures faced by millions across the country. It's what we're calling the Great Australian Squeeze. And honestly, you've probably felt it yourself, right? Your rent bill just keeps climbing, petrol costs way more, and somehow your salary just doesn't seem to stretch quite as far. Well, we're going to break down exactly why living in Australia has become so incredibly expensive, and much look at what the data actually says you can do to protect yourself.
So I want you to just imagine something for a second. Picture waking up, heading down to your local Coles or Woolies, and filling your trolley with the exact same groceries you bought just 2 years ago. I'm talking the exact same milk, the same fruit. You finally get to the checkout, but you discover your percent higher. 30%! That is the very jarring reality we're all dealing with right now. It's definitely not all in your head. Very, very real.
So let's start with Section 1, the Australian dream fades. To really wrap our heads around this, the stark contrast between the past and present. For decades, Australia offered something truly special, high wages, a booming economy, affordable homes, and an incredibly comfortable life. Really the reason millions of people moved here. But jump to today, and we're seeing rising expenses across the board. We're seeing delayed home ownership, struggling with basic costs. That whole picture has flipped completely upside down. So if you are feeling a bit of financial anxiety, this contrast validates exactly why. The baseline has fundamentally shifted right under our feet.
Okay, let's dive into Section 2, Beyond. Now, everyone loves to point the finger at inflation, but we actually need to peel back the layers of the onion here to understand the hidden, underlying these massive price hikes. While inflation is just the broad term we use when businesses are forced to pass higher costs of raw materials on to us consumers, it's being compounded by elements. Think about the sheer number of issues at play. We've got global supply chain disruptions making things way harder to get, which immediately leads to higher shipping costs. Then you combine shortages and rising interest rates that are severely tightening the belt on businesses. When all of these problems happen at the exact same time, it doesn't just rise, it skyrockets. And it does it way faster than wages can possibly keep up.
Let's actually apply this to something you see every single week, whether you shop at Aldi, Coles, or Woolworths. The math behind the scenes shows exactly why a simple punnet of strawberries costs so much more today. You have to factor in transport, plus higher labor costs, plus climbing electricity bills for the supermarkets themselves, plus higher supplier prices. When products travel thousands of kilometers to reach those shelves, every single extra cost just snowballs, and guess where it lands? It gets added right to the final price you pay at the register.
Which brings us to Section 3, the housing and rent crisis.
We've looked at the grocery squeeze, but as we move to the next layer of our economic onion, we see that the housing market is arguably even worse. The really crucial point hits you whether you own or rent, just in totally different ways. For home buyers, dramatic price increases over the last decade, combined with those higher interest rates we just mentioned, mean absolutely massive monthly barrier to entry just to save a deposit. It is astronomical for young people today. And for renters, well, a growing population combined with incredible construction has resulted in record high rents across the board. Essentially, you are getting squeezed from both sides.
It all comes down to a core economic concept explaining this rental nightmare. It's an economic basic, but man, is it a brutal reality. When there are more renters looking for homes, which is the demand side, than there are built, the supply side, landlords can simply charge higher rents. It's really that simple. And that is exactly why rent has become the single biggest monthly expense for so many Australian households today.
Moving on to Section 4, squeezed wages and energy bills.
Let's transition to the hidden cost, almost invisibly draining household budgets month after month. Take your electricity bill, for example. When you break down the rents of what you actually pay for when you flick on a light switch, it's not just the power generation itself. You're paying for network maintenance, climbing fuel costs, and massive infrastructure upgrades. And there's also what you even think about, extreme weather. When unpredictable weather events damage our power infrastructure, the operating costs to fix it spike immediately, and those costs are often reflected in your bill.
Then we have the massive ripple effect of petrol. Petrol isn't just to fill up your car. It is a baseline economic cost. Delivery truckers need it, construction companies need it. So when petrol prices increase, it inflates the cost of transport and production literally everywhere. This creates a massive cycle that trickles all the way down to inflate the price of pretty much all consumer goods and services you rely on.
And this dynamic right here is the real reason you might feel so strapped for cash, even if you recently got a pay raise. Let's say your income increased by a healthy 3%. On paper, that sounds great, right? But if your living expenses have increased by 6%, you are effectively going backwards. You are losing purchasing power. This perfectly illustrates the wage squeeze, showing exactly why you can be working just as hard, or even harder, and still find it incredibly difficult to save any money.
And we also need to validate that local small businesses are trapped in this exact same cycle. They aren't the bad guys here for raising their prices. They are getting hit with higher commercial rent, higher staff wages, their own skyrocketing electricity bills, and much more expensive supplies. To remain profitable and just keep their doors open, they really have no choice but to raise their prices, which ultimately cycles right back to us, the consumers.
Okay, Section 5, how to protect yourself.
Let's pivot this explainer away from the agitation of the problem and focus on some empowering, actionable solutions derived directly from the economic data. Because look, no one can single-handedly control global inflation or interest rates, but you can absolutely control your own strategy. Here is our first major solution: taking back control of your personal finances. Step 1 is creating a realistic monthly budget. Step 2, and this is absolutely critical, is tracking exactly where your money goes. People are consistently shocked by the sheer amount leaking out through unused subscriptions, takeaway meals, and random impulse buys. You gotta plug those leaks. Step 3, bank those small weekly savings. Even tiny amounts make a highly meaningful difference over the course of a year.
Next, let's directly combat those 30% grocery hikes we discussed earlier. If you want practical steps, here's what the data actually suggests. Step 1. Actually compare supermarket prices. The exact same item often costs less just down the street. Step 2. Look for weekly specials and stock up when things are cheap. Step 3. Swap to home brand products where the quality still meets your needs. And Step 4. Plan your meals. Knowing what you will eat before you ever set foot in the shop drastically reduces food waste and keeps your spending strictly under control.
We could also take immediate action to lower our household overhead. Simple things. Turn off unused appliances at the wall. Switch to energy-efficient LEDs. A really huge one is running your heavy appliances like the washing machine or the dishwasher during off-peak times if your plan offers lower rates. Furthermore, review your bills. You have to break that loyalty tax. Do not stay with the same internet, phone, or insurance provider for years without checking the market. Comparing providers regularly is honestly one of the absolute easiest ways to find better value.
I want to leave you with this really powerful quote from our source material. Understanding why prices change is the first step towards making informed financial decisions. Because the reality is, no one can definitively predict what the economy will do next. But knowledge is your ultimate tool here. The more you understand how all these gears turn from supply chains to demand shifts, the better equipped you are to adapt your household and prepare for whatever comes next.
So I'll leave you with a final thought to reflect on today. How are you adapting your own budget to Australia's new economic normal? What changes have you successfully made to beat the squeeze? If you found this explainer helpful in breaking down the great Australian squeeze, be sure to subscribe for more clear, structured insights into our economy. Thanks so much for joining me, and keep learning.